2024 was an okay year for video games. I think all you have to do is look at the list of Game Award nominees for Game of the Year this year, and you'll notice that the AAA space definitely missed the mark this year. They have DLC and an indie game on there, which they never do, so you can tell that's kind of the way 2024 went. But I played a lot of wonderful games in 2024, and I want to talk about those today. So we got some AAA, we got some indie, and maybe something you wouldn't expect to be on someone's top games of 2024 list. And as always, let me know down below what your game of 2024 was, because you know I love hearing from you. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'm going to go with the AAA one right off the bat because this is probably the most well-known game of all the ones that I'm going to talk about today. And as a Final Fantasy fanboy, if you're new to the channel, I love Final Fantasy. I was so excited for Rebirth, and it lived up to my expectations. We finally got to go out into the open world, even though it is segmented. I'm going to do some pros and cons for each game, I think. And for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, one of the biggest pros is that we got the big open world that we were expecting. With Final Fantasy VII Remake, it was a little more linear. You couldn't explore as much. But boy, with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, did they give you just about everything you could possibly do. That's a pro. The con to that, one, it's a little segmented. You have to go from section to section. You can't just scroll the whole map, which makes sense with limitations. Even today, games have limitations. That's one for this game. And there's just so much to do, which is a pro and a con. I appreciate all of the stuff you can do outside of the storyline, but I do think that there's just too much. Maybe that's just me, but I feel like there's too much going on in this game at certain times. And at some point during the game, I think it was about halfway through the game, I just kind of gave up on the side quest stuff. I just wanted to see the story. Let's talk about the story. Just like Final Fantasy VII Remake, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth changes the story completely compared to what you're used to if you've played the OG one. But I think it does a good job of retelling the story in a way that pays homage to the OG version, but also gives it a bunch of twists that just make it worthwhile playing it again. Because if we just played the same Final Fantasy VII, but with like updated graphics, I feel like it wouldn't hit the same. This one goes off the rails in a way compared to the way the old one did, the original. Man, it's just so much fun. And I, for one, I know it was a big stink on the internet that some people were like, I don't like the way they're taking the story. I love the way they're taking the story. The ending, excellent. I loved it so much. So Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, also up for Game of the Year. The Game Awards, for me, was one of my top games of 2024. No contest. I knew I would love it. I loved it. I can't wait for the third part. I'm hoping we don't have to wait as long. I don't think we will. But Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, just one of the best games of 2024, by far.
Hashtag Blood, the video game. Available now.
Hashtag Blood. It's like playing a Saturday morning cartoon on Cartoon Network. This game came out of nowhere. I had no idea about it, and then I saw it one day, and I was like, this looks like a lot of fun. I love the art style. I love the type of game that it is as far as like mechanics and gameplay and combat and stuff. It reminds me a lot of A Link to the Past. It very much has that dungeon crawler vibe, the same 2D style. It's just so well done. Everything's so beautiful. The graphics, the art style, the humor. It's so I found myself laughing so much, which is rare for me in video games. I know that games sometimes are going to be funny, but I feel like this one hits humor right on the head for what it was. Like I said, it feels like playing like one of those 2000s Cartoon Network shows. Like you're just playing a big, long episode of a cartoon show. I loved it so much. Everything was great about it. The one con I had, they fixed. There was problems with hit boxes and like invincibility frames when rolling, because you gotta have invincibility frames when you're rolling if From Software taught us anything. And that was an issue because it wasn't working properly. Shortly after that, after I was like, I can't, this is like frustrating, the devs fixed it. They patched it and it worked perfectly, and I was able to finish the game. And I just think that says a lot about a game studio, is that when they take the time to fix things like that so quickly because they know it's kind of ruining their game, they fix it. A+. This game was perfect to me. I think it's pretty close to perfect. It has its issues, some wonky combat situations, and sometimes it's a little all over the place, but for the most part, I think Hashtag Blood is just, it's a perfect little indie game, and I loved it so much. If you haven't played Hashtag Blood yet, go get it. It's relatively inexpensive, and it's totally worth your time. Speaking of humor, my next top game of 2024 is Thank Goodness You're Here. This game, again, so funny. Humor is like the most important part of this game. That's what makes this game run. It's very simple, very silly. There's not, there's puzzles to solve, but they're not very difficult. It's a very quick playthrough, a few hours. But oh my God, it is so funny. It is so funny. You're just this little guy in this little British town, and you're just trying to go around helping people that you kind of just get sucked into helping these people, whether you want to or not, because you're just trying, you're waiting on one particular person, the mayor of this town. But while you're waiting, you go out and you help all these people, and then inevitably the cycle continues until you actually do meet the mayor at the end. And it's just so funny. Everything's so minute and little, like all the little things you're helping people with are so tiny and so minuscule, and things they could probably do themselves, or they get themselves in these situations and you have to help them get out of them. It's simple, it's hilarious, it's so well done. The art style is great, everything's bright and colorful. There's little things that pop out here and there, like the little worm underground, that just, little things or little secrets you'll find. You'll hit a tree and something will pop out of it and say something funny and then disappear. Or you can punch anything. Everything is, you have like a megaton punch. Everything crumples under the strength of your little fists. And it's just so good. I can't talk about this game without talking about how good it is. I seriously don't think there's any cons to this game. I think it's literally perfectly done. My only con would maybe be that you're going back to the same places again. But here's the thing about that. Even if you're backtracking or like going through the same locations, something new and hilarious is happening every time. Or something, there's a running gag for every time you go back there. So that's the only con, but it's not even really a con. I think it's great. I think it's a great game. Cheap, fun. Go check it out. Thank goodness you're here. It's a beautiful game and one of my favorite games of 2024.
Massacre at the Mirage, where every scream is the final cut.
All right, I had to put a horror game on here because I do still love horror games. I played a lot of terrible ones over the years, and I've just kind of gotten to the point now that I don't play games on a daily basis. I've kind of been able to pick and choose what I really sit and enjoy, and Massacre at the Mirage is by far my favorite horror game of the year. If you know about the Terrifier series, which I don't enjoy, I think it's violence for the sake of violence, and it's just not very good. But this is essentially Terrifier the game, and it does it in such a fun way. I think it harkens to all those games that like you played on like Itch.io, the PlayStation style graphics or like the old school theme to them, but it works so well and it's so silly. And playing it on live, I got to play it on live stream like before Halloween, and it just worked so well. There's so many funny moments, there's so many great deaths, and there's just so much to it. So let's talk about cons. You do have to work a snack stand at a movie theater, and I feel like that drags on a little bit, like it's unnecessary. Slowly people come up and get their ticket, and slowly people order their food, and slowly they walk away, and it's just kind of like a little redundant. And I think I even said that when I was playing it on stream. It's just like, okay, it's getting a little dull. We could kind of skip past this. But it makes it okay because the rest of the game is so thrilling and exciting and like kind of creepy. And it's not one of those horror games where you have to run from the bad guy. You just go through these steps and it kind of progresses in a way that isn't just, it's leading up to a big chase at the end. This game, Massacre at the Mirage, is one of my favorite horror games I think I've ever played, but definitely my favorite horror game of 2024. Finally, I'm going to agree with the Game Awards here in a game that I got into late, but that I cannot stop playing, and that is Balatro, the indie game made by one person that is up for Game of the Year. In my opinion, I doubt it will win, but I think it deserves it just from the work that was done by one person. This game is addictive, it's fun, it's always changing. I mean, it is a roguelike, but it's a card-playing roguelike, which is insane to me. Not like you play cards to have combat, but you're literally playing cards to just get points to win to go to the next round, which sounds simple, but it is so well done. You can change your cards to like give them extra benefits or boosts. You can get cards that like completely change the way your hand plays. It's just so much fun. Like I don't know what else I can really say about Balatro. There's no real downside to Balatro. I think it's just an incredibly well done and simple roguelike in a theme and genre that we've never seen before. So I think it deserves its spot, and as a nomination for the Game Award, but also as Game of the Year because it's just so much fun. It's so simple. And I'm a big sucker for roguelikes, and changing it up in this way and putting it in this format just makes it that much better. Go play Balatro. It's like $15 on Steam, $10 on your phone. 100% worth it to go pick that up and play it. You probably already have. I think everybody has. I was definitely hopped on that train late. I'm not going to pretend like I played Balatro the first time it came out because it took me a while. But now that I have it, I cannot stop playing it. So Balatro is definitely one of my favorite games of 2024. With that being said, that's just a few of the games I played in 2024 that I think deserve to be praised as top games of the year. Again, we had a lot of misses. We also had a lot of hits that people may not know of, so I hope maybe this list gave you an idea to play one of these games. I'm sure you've played Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, or have at least heard of it, but maybe you hadn't heard of #Blood or Massacre at the Mirage. But I hope that you go and play games, play something different, and enjoy the rest of 2024. I know I will, and we'll see what the rest of the year holds and then what next year holds, because I'm excited to continue making videos for you through 2025, 2026, forever and ever and ever. But I appreciate you. Thank you to the members who have been members throughout this year. I got monetization and membership and all that stuff this year, which is amazing. And again, for this year, I thank you very much for taking your time and watching my videos. It means a lot to me. So I appreciate you. I'll see you in the next video. I love you. Bye-bye.